Okay, a few cultural do's and don'ts for the Tongan culture as a missionary or just someone going to Tonga. This one's going to be a little bit more focused towards missionaries, but Tongan people are a lot more friendly in general than some of the people you might meet in America or other Western countries. They just say hi to everybody, probably because they're all family and friends and neighbors. But whenever you see anybody on the road, no matter who they are, just say hi to them and they'll say hi to you, and that is just a norm. It's really not out of the ordinary, so I highly suggest that. Couple other things. Tongans are really humble people, so emulate that if you can. Try to just express humility in the way that you talk, in the way that you act. They often use words like whakamole mole, which means like forgive me, or they say tulo, excuse me. They say those types of things all the time just because they're really humble and polite people. And so especially as a missionary, you want to give off that kind of humility and that kind of respect. So learn how to do that really well. That'd be a good tip for you. What else? It's laid back. It's definitely a slow-paced, simple lifestyle, so don't try to rush everything too much. Even as a missionary, there will be a lot of times when you want to be on time everywhere and you want to follow the schedule to the second, and that's just not always possible in Tonga. But they do live a simple life, and it is something I kind of admire. It teaches you patience and what's important. It's not always important to speed walk down the side of the road, but sometimes it's more important to stop and say hi to your neighbors. And I think that's definitely part of the Tongan culture. And the sooner that, it would have been better if I had learned that sooner, let's just say that. Another funny one, which is probably pretty obvious, is that food is a big part of life. It's what they do every day. You know, every day is, you know, going out to the little gardens and farms and cultivating food, going out to the ocean and fishing for food, and a lot of jokes, and the main topic of conversation is food. So if you pick up on that and incorporate that into your language study, that's probably going to be really helpful. And the food is great. It may not be super healthy, but it's awesome. I love it, and you will too. I love the Tongan culture. I wish that I could think of more tips for you, but I think those are the most important ones I could think of right now. So hopefully that helps.
Well, okay, so first thing when you get to Tonga, you can see a sign say malolele. So malolele means like hello, or like it's like the way you're greeting. You say malolele. That's how you say hello or hi. And you can see everybody's just smiling and they're so happy. And Tonga, well, I can show Tonga. The thing I love about Tonga, or I want to go back to Tonga and talk about, and do, it's like I want to go back to the beach. I miss the beach so much. They're so beautiful, and there's tons of beach. They're like the sea. It's so blue. The ocean is so blue, and you have like the sand is so white. And I want to go back swimming. I miss swimming a lot. We live like 5 minute walk from my house to where the beach is. So it's I kind of miss it, but it's a fun thing that you can do, going to the beach all the time. And the second thing I miss about home, well, I know I miss about my family. I miss my family because all my families are back at home. I miss my family, and I miss the fruits. Like, oh my gosh, they're so sweet. And it's easy because most of the time you don't have to go buy it from the shop or the market or the local market. They grow them at your backyard, and some of your friends or your families, they have them in their house. So like when like mango season, dava season, and pineapple season. They're like you can just go get it from your friends or like your family can send it from the other island back to like to your homeland, and they're so sweet. Like the fruits are so sweet, and it's free. Like um, so I miss the food too. I miss the food. Well, you can get the food here, but it's different from back in the island. It's kind of like fresh, really really fresh, and um, so yeah. So this the culture, and it's very very family oriented and stuff, and you really have to be respectful. Um, Family are so close, and most people like stay as family together, even when they're growing up or and get married, but they still live in the same house, because that's how they are, and so that's what I love about Tonga, and doesn't have snow. There's like almost like 4 seasons every day. Um, so, but there is raining season, and there is hurricane season, a cyclone season. But I've been grew up my whole life in this situation, and it's just normal. It's just normal for me, and um, so yeah, Tonga is very 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 small and very beautiful, and there's tons of tourists coming over and visiting stuff, and things there is kind of, I would say it's kind of expensive from my point of view, just because like the currency, it's double back at home, or let's say like in here, like things are like $15 in Tonga, like it's $30 or $40, so it's kind of like, for me it's kind of like expensive, um, but we don't have it there, so that's why people are paying stuff from overseas back to Tonga and sell it for a lot amount of money, and because it's double and they want to make money and stuff, and um, let's see, we eat like weird food in Tonga. Not very very weird, but we eat dogs in Tonga. So, um, like here in the U.S., that like you give us a bet, but in Tonga, like you have this meals, like you and your friends have meals and stuff. It's and there's one thing they call like Faikava Tonga, which Faikava when like you drink. There's a like most of the mans, like old mans and stuff, they went to a club, and then they sit down, like they make the kava, and they like drink it for a long amount of time, and so it's kind of tradition. When you drink kava on a funeral or a wedding or any ceremony, like the like yeah, on every ceremony, but people do it often. It's just for getting together and talk and sing songs all night long, and um, so that's what we call it Faikava in Tonga, and well, I don't really used to drink kava, but I don't drink kava, but yeah, but it's something that it's a culture in Tonga. Um, most people, as for right now, I believe that most people can speak English in Tonga. Um, but the more the more generation coming up, there are tons of Tongan words starting to like old proverbs and stuff are starting to lose, just because people most like it's kind of like word development now, and the English the people children are learning English when they grow up. I grew up learning English, but it wasn't that much I know about it English. I just remember when I was like when I was like 9 and 10, I went with my family to visit New Zealand, and the what you call the airline thingy came and asked me like I don't know I didn't know what she was asking for, like flight attendant. So she was asking something, and the only word I remember was like yes and no, and so I just say yes to every question that she asked me, and then Like after 2 minutes, like she bring in like tons of food, and I was like, oh, probably like she was asking if I need this and if I'm hungry and I need this and that and that. But as for right now, like I'm developing, like learning a lot of English. But back at home, like English is kind of like they force it to not force it, but like they want it, student right now to learn English at school. But mostly when you have Tongans around you, like you just like speaking Tongan and stuff. But so yeah, there's some of cultural ways that I can see, and some of the things that I love and I miss about home, and just the love that everybody has, and how friendly they are, and the views, the beaches, like the sunset, the the sunrise, and the food, and the air too. Like the weather is so amazing, like so amazing. And I promise you, like seriously, I promise you, like if you go to Tonga, like you will love it. Like you will love it. You just feel like you just feel so much love, and people just so care about you. Um, so and they're so friendly. So yeah. That's what I love about Tonga. And oh, one more thing, like we do have a king, so I believe we're still the only country in the whole earth that still has a king and a queen and princess and prince and stuff, and we have some royal people.
It's overall safe in Tonga. There's not too much to worry about out there. Um, Depending on where you live too, everybody knows what goes on. So even though if a crime went on, you'd have the person the next day because there was always someone there to witness it. But the crime rate is really low out there. Um, it's actually funny, even their jail system is not really advanced. So when people are sent to jail, it's more like a work furlough program or something where they actually go and live in a certain area and they do work for the government and go and they do like construction or so they pretty much just they don't call it like jail, they call it ngawe popula, and that means like work in prison. So pretty much the people out there when they go to jail, it's really just going to work and but their conditions of work is actually really hard, so it's not as easy as it sounds. With day-to-day living, I'd say the houses are pretty okay. You do have your poorer people of the place, and you have people who are in better circumstances. But overall, the houses are pretty much all the same. They have a cement foundation, and it's actually more advanced now than it was before. They used to have places or people that the families would live in these houses or huts that they call wharetonga, and so they used like pretty much all the things they had around there, the coconut leaves and wood around, and they would build up these big wharetongas, and they were actually long, and they would have like straw on top and everything. So they used to live like that, but now it's more modern, and people really just live with pretty much. I still would say they're small houses, but they're livable, and it's not that bad. They have four walls. Some of them are made out of I don't know how to say it. It's like kapa, like tin, not tin can, but like just certain materials that were kind of, you would say here it's like flimsy, but it was something to them, and they would have like, I guess the inside would just be laced with the 2x4s and stuff to hold up the structure. But most of the stuff was livable. How people would get around transportation. There are a lot of cars. People also walk around, and they also have buses out there. And the buses out there are pretty cool. They it's actually not limited to how many people could be in there, because you have people hanging out the window or even like out the front door. Even the way you take the bus too, it's like it's weird. I'm used to in America you pay to get on, but you actually pay to get off. Like, yeah, you can just hop on, and it was just, we didn't really see it, but sometimes they let missionaries ride for free because they just knew we were going somewhere good. But transportation is really simple out there. In some areas where I served in isolated areas, there's actually some places with only one car for the whole town. And that one car would be rarely used. Their main transportation would actually be their feet, and they would do all their work and transporting things with wheelbarrows. So they would use the actual wheelbarrows just to get their daily life chores done. The Actually, it was like a van that they ripped back the back door off so that they could use it to like stuff it with a whole bunch of coconuts or different things that they needed to take around the island, but it was rarely used. So another thing, the plants and stuff. There's areas like they have like pineapple fields and stuff. It's really hot, sticky, but I've actually gotten to help out with a couple of the farms. You get cut up a lot. Probably want to dress with long sleeves and maybe some jeans or something. But they also have these little. The only thing that they have poisonous in Tonga is it's called a molokau. I think it's like a long centipede, but they're really it's kind of like burgundy, and they're I guess they're poisonous, but a lot of the Tongans get bit and they don't actually die, but I don't know if they built the immunity to it or something, but there actually have been cases where Caucasian people would go over there, or people not from Tonga would go and get bit and actually die from those bites. But those are the only poisonous things that I know about in Tonga, is the centipedes. They're not too much, but they're mostly in moist farm areas. So depending on where you're at, you'll bump into those. They do have their typhoon season. I was lucky enough not to be at one of them. They've actually had a big hurricane that just happened. I think it was last year, 2014, and it took out one of the whole islands. All the houses were actually demolished. The only thing left standing were just a couple of the strong houses and the churches that were there. But they do have a lot of the typhoons out there. Another crazy thing is you could hear the rain coming from somewhere. Like it was weird. At first, I wasn't really used to it. I'd have mission companions who were actually from Tonga, and they would tell me like, "Hey, we had to go look for a house to go and just wait." And I was like, "For what?" He's like, "It's raining." I was like, "No, it's not." And then all of a sudden, you'll hear the rain like closing in, and it's like banging on the copper houses. Like you can hear the tin, like the rain just like trickling down on all these houses. And I would look down the road, and you could see a big wall of rain just running towards you, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, like how did you call that?" And just I didn't know how bad it was, but they have their ways of telling what the weather might look like, just by certain signs. They'll, I guess, look at birds, or there's certain things like dogs will run away or something like that, and they'll say like it'll start to rain or not. So yeah, that was one of the crazy things. I jumped back and forth. For my first 3 transfers, I was in the Nuku'alofa, but not the main town. There's also like other areas outside. And so I served in town for 1 transfer, it's Havelu. Then I moved over to a rural area in the west side, or they call it Hihifo. And it's the area I served in was Nuku, and I served there for 2 transfers. It's more like a farm area. And then after the transfer, I actually had a chance to go and serve in Vava'u. But one of the unique things I think that I got from my mission is the transfers were either done by plane or by boat. And so I actually got to go on a boat and go to this island. I'm not sure how far it is, but the trip on the boat actually took about 24 hours. Yeah, so like a whole day. I just remember getting on the boat. It's this big, smelly boat. Like, it smelled like gasoline. It just wasn't nice. And the thing that was scary is that I think about 2 years before that, one of the boats actually went down and a lot of people, passed away. So I stayed on top of the boat, which could probably be the worst part of the boat because it sways. And so if you're sitting on the top, you get most of the momentum. And I have a weak stomach, I guess. I have motion sickness, especially when it comes to being seasick. They all the Tongans knew I was seasick. I just the thing was traveling by boat. You just got to see the open ocean, and it was pretty crazy. It was one of the best experiences I had. So you go on a boat. This is actually one of the pretty cool parts is that you go on a boat, and for about 4 hours you're out on sea. You don't see nothing, and then all of a sudden you see all these little boats come out of nowhere. And all these little boats are actually Tongan people, like, ready to pack stuff on or pick people off the boat. And so the reason for that is that they had a little stop, but it was these little islands, and it's one of the main islands called Hot Bai. But before you get to Hot Bai, you hit a place. It's called Lulunga, and they have little tinier islands. These are all isolated islands, but there's no electricity that these islands live off of, and so you wouldn't tell unless it was like clear daylight. Then you'd be able to see the islands. And so you have all these people picking all their stuff up, either luggage or maybe it's food or something. Family are visiting, and so they grab their families and they actually go out. And so that was one of the crazy things I got to see, was these boats come out of nowhere, and these guys, they make it look like it's easy. Like, they just go out there and then they go back to their own little island, but it's like in the dark, and I don't know how they get back. But after a couple of hours of that, so it's 4 hours to there, and then another 3 hours, you hit Hot Bai. And so it's like the middle, you would say it's like the midpoint to Vava'u. And so Hot Bai is a hot place. It's like a long strip of sand, but people live there too. And yeah, you just stop there for about 2 hours. Then you get back on the boat, and so you ride for like another 14 hours to Vava'u. And Vava'u actually is different from Tonga. Although it's an island, in Tonga, Tonga is actually just flat. And it's not much, you won't really see anything in the air. There's a lot to see everywhere, but it's flat. So once you get to Vava'u, the way we got to Vava'u is you kind of go around the whole island to get into what they have is like their dock, so that the boat can park and everything. But the way you get into it is that you have to go around the island and then go inside. And so you have like these big hills, or what they call in Tonga mountains, and they have all these mountains everywhere, but it's like the middle of the town is inside, and you have like these waters everywhere, but it's like, it really is literally like paradise. So it was a crazy sight to see. It was an even greener place, but with hills and mountains and stuff, and you just see like how tropical it is. So that was the difference in geography for that.